Oh well. All right, so here we go. First things first, solving radical equations. A radical equation is an equation with a radical in it. Yeah. Okay, whatever. Let's keep on going. More importantly, how do we solve these things? First things first, you need to... Hey, Sharon, do you have any packets for Chapter 6? Yeah, I've got like 3 people that just told me they never got one. I know, right? I know. This is 6.4. They just... Thank you. Anyways, so step 1, isolate the radical. It does. It's okay. Just makes for an easier day. Isolate the radical. Step 2. Raise to a power to cancel the radical. For example, if it's a square root, you square it. If it's a third root, you raise it to the third. If it's a fourth root, you raise it to the fourth. If it's a fifth root, you raise it to the seventh. No, you raise it to the fifth. Last but not least, it's not liking and doing anyway. So step 3, solve. Step 3 is to solve, which once you get to that point, it should be self-explanatory as to what to do. Okay? So basically that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be isolating radicals, squaring or cubing both sides, solving. Isolating radicals, raise it to a power, solve. Isolating radicals, raise it to a power, solve. That's pretty much the entire section. Okay? So here we go. Thank you, sir. All right, so turn the page. Let's go. First things first, letter A. Okay. Is there anything outside of this radical on the left-hand side?
2.
A 2. That 2 is multiplying. So to get rid of it, we need to divide. So we're left with the square root of x plus 1 equals 4. Cool. Huh?
4 divided by 2 is 2.
Thank you. Just checking. No, not really. All right, so here we go. From there, we got a square root. So we're going to square it. Now, anything under the radical is protected, okay? So those 2 cancel each other out. So you're left with just a straight x plus 1 over there. And 2 times 2 is 4. Last but not least, subtract the 1. So you get 3. Okay? That's the gist of today. Yes, it's going to get a little more complicated, but not by a whole heck of a lot. It's just getting longer, really. But that's the gist of today. All right, letter B. Let's keep moving. All right. Is the radical alone, or do we have to get rid of something first?
Negative 1.
You got to get rid of the negative 1. How are you going to do that?
You add.
You add it. So you have the third root of 2x minus 9 equals what? 3. All right, so from here, to get rid of the radical, what do you got to do? Well, what's the opposite of a radical? What's the opposite of a third root? The third power. Powers and roots are opposites of each other. So they cancel each other out. Just like you square it to get rid of a square root, you raise it to the third to get rid of a third root, you raise it to the fourth to get rid of a fourth root, so on and so forth. So you got 2x minus 9 equals, what's 3 times 3 times 3?
It's 9.
27. You got to do it 3 times. And from here, hopefully you know what to do. What are you going to do? Add 9, so 2x equals 36. Then what? Divide by 2, so x equals 18. Good. Cool. How are we doing with this? Give me 5 to 1. 5, I got this easy peasy. 4, I'm okay. 3, and 2, I'm lost. 1, save me. Sweet. Do letter F. Go all the way to the bottom. Do letter F. All right. I think we can do that. And there you go. Cool. Just subtract the 4 over, divide it by 3, raise it to the 4th, and then add a 4. You may not have known that 3 to the 4th is 81, but your calculator would have gotten it. So if you got this far and knew to raise it to the 4th, I'm happy with that. Cool? No. Okay. Good with that one.
Yeah, okay, so you divide it by 3 on both sides.
Yep.
right? And then you do the 4 over.
Raise it to the 4th, right?
Yeah. But I'm confused with the 9. I don't know.
This 9?
Yeah,
Okay,
Right,
so
just
plus
raise the
4,
four.
we subtracted the 4 over.
okay.
13 minus 4 is 9. Cool?
Sure.
All right, we'll keep rolling. All right, next page, let's keep rolling. Oh no, go back, I apologize. This one down here, word problems. Okay, word problems for these are not very creative.
These go like a tiny bit.
Word problems for this are not very creative. They're pretty much, hey, here's an equation, B, here's some values, plug them in, solve. That's pretty much what they all are. So here we go, a hurricane, the mean sustained velocity, whatever that is, V, is modeled by blah equation. So V is your mean sustained wind velocity, where P is the air pressure, so P is your air pressure. Estimate the air pressure at the center of a hurricane when the mean sustained wind velocity is 54.5. Okay, 54.5. Are we plugging it in for V or for P?
V.
Is he right? Does this go in for the P value
V.
or the V?
V.
It goes into V. So just plug it in and go. So we've got 54.5 equals 6.3 square root of 1013 minus P. And start solving. So what are you going to do first to solve?
Divide 6.
Good. So somebody with a calculator, what's 54.5 divided by 6.3? 8 point what? 8.65. Cool. Root of 1013 minus P. Let's do a better one than that. Okay. Now what? Good. All you got over there is a square, is a root. So we'll square it. And we all know what 8.65 squared is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it? It's like 79 point something, I think.
74.
74.82 equals 1013 minus P. All right, what's next? Good. Subtract 1013 from both sides. So you get a negative P on the right. Negative 938.18.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're both negative, so that means they both can become positive. So P equals 938.18. Okay. I'm just going to do one word problem because they're all like this. Okay. Now, in your homework, every so often you notice that they don't necessarily give you the equation right there. They say see problem example 5. If you back up to example 5, that's where the equation is. That might happen, I don't know, but just be wary of it. All right, but any questions on what we did?
No.
It's really no different than the ones above it. It really isn't. All right, turn the page. These ones. Okay, these ones get a little more interesting, but only because you have an X on the inside and an X on the outside. All right, because of that, we are likely going to get one answer that does not work. We're going to get two answers for it, but one will probably not work. It's possible both won't work, and it's possible both will work, but odds are it's one or the other. That's 9 times out of 10. Okay, so here we go. First things first. This is a lone over here, so let's go ahead and get rid of it. We'll square both sides. And this is where most people crash and burn right here. Oh, sorry. That's where Hunter crashes and burns right here.
Plus 1.
Yes, that's what most people think. They go x squared plus 1. The problem is it's x plus 1 times x plus 1. So you're missing your middle term. You're missing the 2x in the middle, exactly. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times x is x. X times 1 is x. And x times x is x squared, which gives you x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay? Don't forget, this is a binomial. If you square it, write it out twice and multiply the whole thing out. Okay? So in reality, what you've got over here, you do have an x squared and a plus 1, but it's, get the right color, x squared plus 2x plus 1. Stop it. Why is it doing that? And then it marks there. I love this program sometimes. X squared plus 2x plus 1. There we go. Does that make sense? Is anybody having a problem with this? Yes, sir. Okay, so how did I get this? This is an x plus 1 squared. That means I have to take the entire x plus 1 and multiply it by the entire x plus 1. Okay, I have to multiply it out like that. And what I've done over here is I've just labeled them out like this. And this is like old school multiplication. So the first one times both of them. And the second one times both of them. And then I add down to get x squared plus 2x plus 1. Cool? All right. All right, so from here we have an x squared to deal with. The way you deal with an x squared is you have an x squared and an x. So you need to get everything to one side. And hopefully you can just factor it, which in this case we can. So we'll subtract the 7x and subtract the 15. So we got x squared minus 5x minus 14 equals 0. I'll scooch up. Okay. So we got rid of the radical. Get everything to one side so that I can go bloop. And what are two things that multiply to the left? Good. X times x is x squared. What are two things that multiply to the right? Okay, so 2 and 7. How do I rig them to add up to a negative 5, though? Good. Those are your factors. So x equals what? Negative 2 and positive 7. Very good.
Which one works?
That's exactly right. We have to go back and ask ourselves which one actually works. So let me clear this up here. The way you do that is you just plug them in. So if I try the 7, what is 7 plus 1? 8. Okay, so let's go over to the right. What is 7 times 7? 49 plus 15 is? 64. What's the square root of 64? 8. Do those work? Yes, so the 7's good. Let's try the 2. The 2, or negative 2. What's negative 2 plus 1? Negative 1. Now question, can a squared radical, an even radical, ever equal a negative 1? No, so I can cancel it right there without even doing the right side. So the final answer is x equals 7.
Equals 8. Oh, okay.
No, 7. We checked at 8 equals 8, but the 7 is what the answer was. All right? So these ones were a little more involved. All right? Let's do another one. Let her be. Let her be, let her be, let her be. Sorry, the jokes were bad. All right, so here we go. The radical is alone, so what can we do? Square it. So I've got 2x plus 7 on the left and x squared plus 16 on the right, right?
No.
No. Good, it's got an 8x, actually a minus 8x in the middle. So it's x minus 4, x minus 4. What's negative 4 times negative 4? 16. Negative 4 times x is? X times negative 4 is? And x times x is x squared. So x squared minus 8x plus 16. That's what we're missing. All right. I will say this. Squaring this like I did at first is probably the most missed thing in the entire chapter that I've noticed over the years. Just what it is. And it's just not thinking. All right? All right. Do you remember what we do from here? Get everything to one side. Now, does it matter which way we go? No, we can go either way. I will say this. I like having my x squared positive because I make fewer mistakes with negatives that way. You follow me? So in this case, I want to move it right. Just because, but I mean, we could go left. I just have to deal with negatives, more negatives that way. So 0 equals x squared minus 10x plus 9? Yeah. Move this up so people can see better. Look at my beautiful handwriting. I know everybody does. All right, from here, put up your parentheses. All right, what goes on the left? X. Well, all right, what multiplies to 9? 1 and 9 and 3 and 3, but 1 and 9 can get you up to a 10. How are they? Positives or are they negatives? They're both negative. Good. You got to add up to a negative 10, so they both need to be negative. So x equals 1 and 9. And I'll pause. Any questions about what we've done there at all? All right. It is. I mean, it's an involved process, but there's nothing too crazy along with. I mean, the craziest part is this over here. It really is the craziest part. Other than that, it's just move things together. The factoring might trouble you still, but
Yeah, factoring them. I don't know.
I get it. Sorry. You'll get better at it. All right, so here we go. Plug them in. What is 1 minus 4? Negative 3. Can a radical ever equal a negative 3? No, because so that one's out. Let's try the other one. What's 9 minus 4? 5. So I got 5 on the right. What's 9 times 2?
18.
Plus 7? 25. What's the square root of 25? So does it work? Yeah, so x equals 9. That's your final answer. All right. Yes, you will have a couple on your test on your homework like this. I guarantee you'll have at least one like on your test like this. Okay, so you do need to be able to get through this. It's not going to be an overly difficult one, but you'll have to know the process. All right, letter C, letter D. Yes, sir. Go for it. Letter D, real fast. This one is a nice, easy reprieve from the one we just did. We have 2 radicals, right? So you just square them. What happens when you square a radical?
You get along.
They go away. So you're left with 2x plus 5 and x plus 7.
So you just subtract x plus 7.
Good. So, well, you don't have to subtract the x plus 7. I can just move the x to the left and move the 5 to the right. You follow? Move the x left, move the 5 right. What's 2 minus 1? What's 7 minus 5? My hand tried to rebel and write 3. So if you ever have a radical equals a radical, just square them and solve. You can be done in 2 steps. 3 at the most. Cool? All right, this one's the hardest one of the day. Letter E. And then it'll get a lot easier from this.
So the answer for D was 2?
The answer for D was 2. That was it. This one is the hardest one for the day, and we're just going to do one of them. But you need to have at least, even if you don't fully understand what's going on, you need to have it at least written down so you know what's going on, okay? So here we go. We tell you to start off by isolating the radical, but if I move this 2 over here and become,
The same.
it's going to be the same thing, right? So there's nothing we can do to get rid of it. So the only thing we can do is just go ahead and square both sides. So on the right side, we're going to get an x minus 2. The left side, however, this is a binomial like x minus 2 over here. So we're going to have to multiply it out just like we did on the other ones. So I'm going to go over here to the right, and I'm going to do the square root of x minus 6, or was it plus 6? X plus 6, sorry. X plus 6 minus 2, and the square root of x plus 6 minus 2. And I'm going to multiply them. Which that looks crazy. It's easier than it looks, but it is some big chunking. So let's start here. What is negative 2 times negative 2?
Positive 4.
Positive 4. What is negative 2 times the big radical? Well, negative 2 times the big fat radical. You can't distribute into it or anything like that, so just put them next to each other. All right, then move over to the radical. What is the radical times negative 2? Well, good. It's negative 2 times the big fat radical. Last but not least, what is the radical times itself? Well, if you multiply a square root times itself, it is simply x plus 6. If you multiply a square root by itself, the square root portion of it goes away. Okay? So you can see where, you have to do a little bit of chunking here. You have to see this as one piece, so it's negative 2 times one piece. All right, and when you multiply these two together, well, the radical goes away and you're left with the x plus 6. Okay, those are the two key things to find.
Okay.
So from here, I've got the x. I can add the 6 to the 4 over here, right? Right? So 6 plus 4 is 10.
What?
This positive 6, I can match it with the 4.
Oh. Yeah, so you multiplied it.
I didn't multiply them, I just added them. Because we're adding at this stage. And then I have 2 sets of negative 2, so that's negative 4 root x plus 6. Okay? That is what that piece multiplies out. And that's the hardest part of this. Really is multiplying this out is the hardest part about this question. But we'll be over it pretty soon. So let's go over here. I've got x minus 4 root x plus 6 plus 10. So we squared it and got rid of one radical. From here, revert back to your initial equations and you just isolate the radical you got and square it again. Okay? So I'll subtract the 10 and subtract the x. And we're left with negative 4 x plus 6 equals really just negative 12. Aw. Is it not linking up? Pain in the butt.
So x minus. So you divide.
What are we going to do from here, though? You want to go ahead and square it, or you want to do something with the negative 4?
Now divide it by 4.
I would divide it by that negative 4. And you get x plus 6 equals 3. And then from here, it's just like number 1. Square both sides, you get x plus 6 equals 9. Subtract the 6, you get x equals 3. Okay? So if I've completely fried you on this, that's okay. At least have it down so you can have something to refer to. You following? It's not too bad, it's just a lot of pieces to look at. All right, that's the difficulty of this one.
I think this one is easier than the other one. You don't have to
Oh,
fractal.
makes sense. If that's the problem, that makes sense. All right, I promised you to get easier from here. Okay, you ready? It does get a lot easier from here. Letter A. Okay, I got a rational exponent. You may look at that and go, oh my God, what do I do with that? Well, a fractional exponent is a root. That is a fourth root.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to treat it like a root. So, subtract your 2. You get 2x to the 3/4 equals 8. All right, how to get rid of that exponent? You're going to raise it to the 4/3.
Oh.
You're going to flip the fraction and raise it to that power. The reason being is when you multiply these fractions by each other, 3/4 times 4/3, well, you get 12 over 12, which what's 12 divided by 12? 1. They essentially cancel each other out. So you just flip it and go. We just flip the fraction. So on the left, you're going to be left with just a 2x. Anybody know what 8 to the 4/3 is by chance? It's actually 16. So think of it this way. What is the third root of 8? What times itself 3 times is 8? 2. All right. So what's 2 to the 4th? 16. And if you didn't know that, just go 8 to the 4/3 and it'll spit out 16. Cool? Last but not least, divide by 2, x equals 8. Okay?
Oh, wow.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? All right, letter B. Same idea. This is raised to the 1/2, so we're going to get rid of that 1/2. We're going to raise it to the 2. You can write 2 over 1 if you want, but 2 over 1 is just straight 2. Okay? So, x plus 30 equals x squared. Oh, there's the dreaded x squared there. That's a 30, not a 3. So move those guys over. 0 equals x squared minus x minus 30. And do the algebra 2 f word. You will think of it as an f word before too long. I'm sorry. Anybody figured out what the algebra 2 f word is yet? Factoring. So what goes on the left? X. What goes on the right? 6 and 5. And they are -6. So x equals +6 and -5. 6 and -5. So when I plug them in, which one does not work? It is the -5. Why would it be the -5? Because it's negative. Can a root equal a -5? No. So x equals 6. Cool. All right, we're going to do 2 more problems. We'll stop. I promise. 2 more problems. We'll stop. First things first, do letter C. I want you to do letter C. I want to see if you can get through it on your own. All right? If you have to use a calculator, that's fine. But get through letter C on your own. Cool beans? All right. Again, if you have a fractional exponent, just flip it, raise both sides to that power. That's all it is. All right. If you don't understand why that works, that is fine. You don't have to understand why that works. You just need to know that's what you do. All right. And again, if you don't understand why 27 to the 4/3 is 81, well, use your calculator and go from there. All right. We'll get you to know why before too long. All right. Turn the page. Last one. We're going to do one more and we'll be done with it. Oh yay, inequalities. This is my happy voice. These are identical to the rest of the page. The only difference is there's an inequality in there. So letter A, what do you think you're going to do first? Divide by 3. So you get the square root of x minus 1 is less than or equal to what? 4. Okay, what are you going to do next? Square it. So you get x minus 1 on the left equals what? Not 4. 16. So x is less than or equal to 17. Because you got to add it over there. All right? And I don't feel the need to do the rest of these. Because if you could do anything on the other page, you can do these. Same thing with letter B. Divide by 4, cube both sides. The one thing to remember, this is always true with all inequalities. What is the one rule of inequalities? It goes all the way back to 4th grade. Huh? Something about a negative, yes. It can be a negative. If you divide by a negative, what? Good. If you divide by a negative, switch the sign. That is true for all inequalities. That's one of the few rules that never gets broken. All right? If you divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality. Just what it is. Cool? All right, I'm calling it.